without further ado, I will now introduce Hugh, as I said, our Events and Communications Officer, who also has a huge role with many projects we do, including assisting me with what I try and do, our social media. I'm commonly getting excellent guidance from Hugh on how to fix things up or tweak things. He does all of our creative and digital design of things, and also has a great role of obviously interacting with a lot of our founders. So I will now hand over to Hugh, who will take care of you for this session. I guess in terms of logistics, if you've got a question, please either raise your hand or click in the chat box. Chat box is probably the easiest way to go. Hugh will check out those throughout the session. But if there's anything else that you need from us, Hugh obviously has his email on there. If there's any questions, please feel free to email him. So over to you, Hugh. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dim. I'll just switch that back. Can everyone see my presentation and hear me? It's probably awesome. Alrighty. As Dim said, I'm Hugh. Like you said, if you've got any questions, just pop in the chat box and I'll try and answer them best I can if they're not too curly. So, skipping forward, basically, I just wanted to chat a little bit about social media analytics, basically what it is. As you can see on this one here, social media analytics is a practice of gathering data from social media and analysing that data. And I guess today I kind of wanted to just have a quick chat as to why and how we do that, basically. So the how is looking through the data and analysing it and putting it together, and the why is generally from a varying array, whether it's you're a startup or a business that's changing, or you've got a project you're working on, sort of analysing that data and figuring out the impact you're having and how you can sort of move your business decisions forward around that. So for today, we're actually going to use the lovely Smart Region Incubator as our example. Given that we've got half an hour, I'll probably focus primarily just on Facebook at the moment. Facebook still is king, as you can see from our audience here, our little humble audience, that it is actually our largest. And it does impact, again, varying on your business and how you operate your business. Facebook will typically still be your largest audience there. To note, different areas, if you in a lot of Shopify sales, essentially Instagram will be quite large, and again in academia and sort of corporate world, LinkedIn is quite an active audience as well. Cool. From there, we'll also, just for ease of today, rather than using a lot of social media manager platforms do their own reporting, for just simplicity today, we'll be using Facebook's export data, basically, just to keep it on a level playing field for everyone. Cool. Some of the terms we'll be talking about today, just really simply, I like to compare these to real world situations. So your organic reach is the number of people who've had your pages posts enter the screen through unpaid distribution, which I like to compare to people looking at your business as they're walking down a street. They know you're there, they haven't engaged with you, but they're aware of you. Engagement is the number of unique people who have engaged in a certain way with your page post. For example, commenting on, liking, sharing, clicking upon particular elements of that post. And again, I compare that to people actually coming in the door. They're not buying anything yet, but they're actually engaging with you. And then the next one from there is just your active engagement rate. So out of how many people you've reached, how many are actually coming and talking to you. Cool. From there, this is a really quick snapshot of a brand's month-to-month data. So we'll sort of spend a bit of time at the end of this section just looking at this data and analysing it. But for the how for the minute, I'm going to show you how to fill in April, because we're missing that. So this is a snapshot of our period of time from 2019, January through December, and then 2020, we've gone January up to March for the minute. And again, using those terms there, we've got total followers, our follower growth month to month, our post engagement, our average engagement rate, and the organic reach. So at the end of the how, I'll sort of do a bit more of an analysis of what this all means and etc. So follow along. Filling in April, which will be a bit of fun. So first off, if you're doing this at home, I probably you can work along as well if you want, but it's probably something you want to do in your own time. First, you just want to jump onto your main Facebook page. And then from there, under your business page, you'll have a little tab at the top called Insights. From there, you want to make sure that you're just on your overview. And then the magic one we're looking for here is actually the export of the data. I forgot to mention, I'll leave a copy of this presentation for everyone to sort of cruise through at your own pace if you would like. From there, we're trying to grab April's data. So we need two different types of data from that. So we need to grab the page data and the date range that we're working from, which is just the 1st of April to the 30th of April. And then from there, you export it, and that will actually open up a separate Excel spreadsheet, which you then will open. Now, that spreadsheet will look like this. I've tidied this up a little bit just for the simplicity of this presentation, but it will just look like the raw data. So this, again, from the entirety of April, this is showing all the posts that we made to our Facebook page. Individually, it's showing the organic reach and how many users we engaged for them. For this report, essentially, we're just grabbing the totals of those two figures, which I've highlighted there below. Moving on. We also need just our post data, essentially. Oh, page data is the one I'm going backwards. We're actually looking up to the page data there up the top. And same again, back to your Facebook page, recontinuing and exporting it, which will give us another report, which essentially just tells us how many likes we've reached in that month. I just make a small note here. In this data, it actually shows you through the month how many people are liking your page. It also shows you how many people are unliking your page. It's interesting to determine why people are unliking your page at certain points in time. Generally, you can go back to your month-to-month list and see varying reasons why people unlike. They might just not be interested anymore. You might have posted something that they've disagreed with, which is fine. Generally, a good balance. You just want more likes than unlikes, essentially. It's a really easy way to identify. If you posted something that's really offensive, generally people will immediately unlike and run away. But generally, more likes is fine. I wouldn't worry too much about that unless you've had a particular example where something's gone really bad. But if you follow those steps, you'll end up in here with April filled in. So now I would sort of want to have a look at all this data and what we can actually get from this, because that's quite important, and that's part of the why we're doing this. Just to firstly point out, and this is pretty typical of most businesses around the world, is you can see that January, December, we actually drop off. So our organic reach is quite low, and that's quite normal for any business in the world. Basically, people are winding down for the year. And you notice that our organic reach is really dropping off. We sort of hover, for 2019, we hovered around 10,000 people that were reaching all the time. And you notice that January, December, people are starting to switch off and finish up for the year. From this data, you can see that we had a really big dip in our reach in May and June, which, again, also Dimity's in the room, so I have to be mindful of what I'm saying, but this was at a period of time, and it's really top level. So we can look at that and say, why the heck have we got a dip in May and June, basically? And upon reflection, Dimity and I both, it was a period that we were both working really flat out. It was just leading up to another project, and we were really skinny for what we could actually promote on our social media, which is quite interesting. From there, you can also see September, we had an absolute blinder. We delivered our big project, and after that, we were on a bit of a run sort of thing, which was good. Another one just to note really quickly is the follow-up growth month to month. It's quite interesting just to watch that anything, depending on your size, the incubators page is quite small. So you typically see a larger growth month to month, where bigger pages, you sort of anything above 2 to 3% is really good, basically. So as you can see, we're doing quite well in 2019. But then I want to touch a little bit just really quickly on 2020, because I'm sure some of you are aware it's been a pretty weird year for everyone. As you can see, compared to our January last year, we actually did quite well. So our audience had grown quite a lot, but our reach and our engagement are actually quite a bit higher than our original January, which is really good. The problem then is that we move into February, March and April. And as you can see, excuse my bluntness, the shit hits the fan a bit basically, which, as I'm sure you're aware, is probably from coronavirus, COVID-19. So it's been really interesting, and this will really impact different businesses in different ways. But as you can see, just in the top line level, that like our organic reach is completely gone. People aren't engaging. Our growth has shrunk really considerably. So, and I think that's sort of a pattern we've seen, is that through this time, people are either switching off social media completely, or they're just spending more time on their immediate surroundings, whether there's a lot more, you know, dog videos being posted, and they're focusing a lot less on business areas. And again, that varies business to business. The incubator is obviously in a niche area. So if your business is something that is relevant in this period of time, you'll actually see that you're getting quite a spike in what's happening. But anyway, that's just a really quick one. And it's, for me, I think the analytics side of it is just a tool in your tool belt to sort of identify opportunities and then resolve some problems that you can see at a really top line level. So as I said, sort of May, June, it's worth going back and digging into trying to figure out why you had such a low number through that time, and vice versa. If you've had a really good month, go back and have a look at it. The next one I want to do is actually focusing down on a particular activity that you had. So for us, the example that I'll use is our outreach activities that we do. So we have two sort of flagship events through the year called Rise and Augmentation. And on two fronts, they're an outreach activity to promote our brand and get people involved, but also they're an on-the-day activity. So they generally run for 2 days, where we have 100 odd people on the ground engaging with us. And again, I would compare this to if you were running a promotion on a product, or if you were launching a new product and you wanted to sort of glean the data from that and see how it was doing. It's really interesting. So the example here I use is Rise, which was in April, March, I think, of the year. And basically it consisted of us preparing 5 videos and a few posts around it. So as you can see, we didn't do very well. The videos are really, we collected feedback from social media, from people that attended the event, your water cooler conversations where you're actually getting those hard truths. We didn't do very well. They were really unengaging. They were a bit long. They weren't quite interesting enough, sort of thing. I just point out this one as we made a video on social media that was the least engaging. 7 people actually engaged with it. So I think it's important to look at situations where you've not done well and see what you can learn from that sort of thing. So this data was let us see that there was a bit of a problem. So for us, we again compiled our failings, and we sort of looked at how we can improve that. So I'll show you how you can sort of single file down on this data, and we'll do it for augmentation, which is our next project. So back to your Facebook page, you want to go again back to the insights, and you're actually looking, because we did so much focusing on the video, we want to look at the video data this time, and it's a larger period. So whatever period's relevant to what you're looking at, same again, you just want to export that data into an Excel. And from that, we get another spreadsheet, which gives us some numbers. So the blue is augmentation and the orange is Rise. And again, these will be relevant to what your project is. And we're just looking for the total reach and the unique video views. And then finally, we just need to find the engagement for the post. So we need to go back again and grab post data and the date range, essentially, which will give us another big glorious spreadsheet. I hope everyone loves spreadsheets as much as I do, which will give you the engagement per post. So I've just highlighted, if you're doing a large report, it will give you everything So I've just highlighted the posts that were relevant to that activity we were doing, and between, if you're doing it for yourself, you'll know which ones were actually related to that. So from that, this time round, we can actually see that we did have a hell of a lot better. So basically what we learned essentially was that the videos needed to be more humanized, they needed to be more engaging, they needed to be more personal. So we made those changes. They were a little bit long as well, so we made a few changes around how we engaged with that. We also saw that from Rise, we sort of fell off our posts through the day, the actual event posts. We did too. We were quite busy on the day and we didn't have enough time to actually promote what we were doing. So we learned to try and just do a few more structured posts through the day. But just at a glance, you can see like our reach consistently, and it was over 4,000 for each video we did, and the engagement was quite consistent across all of them, which was really good. And then again, our unique views. So that's people, unique people who have actually watched the whole video essentially, which is amazing to have that many people for an activity. And again, for a business startup sense, the cost of these two projects for us was identical, which is crazy. Like to have such a nearly double, if not more, the reach and engagement for something that cost us the same, just purely from us taking a moment to look at the data and actually trying to establish how we can improve that was really cool for us. And I guess if we flip back to the month to month, you can see, so augmentation is sort of end of July, August. So we did have, it wasn't our best month, but we had quite a solid month around that, whereas Rise, again, it's hard to sort of see looking at the top level that March, April was actually quite a good month as well. But it's just interesting looking at that whole picture. I'll just think through here. And that's sort of nearly all I've got. If anyone's got any questions, it was a very quick presentation, but that's sort of all I wanted to gather. As I said, if you're looking at a brands as a whole, your Facebook still dictates a lot of the flow of your traffic. Basically, is that we sort of find, I sort of find that Facebook is a sort of the central pillar, and the other social medias will sort of react around that. And again, that changes depending on whether your business is more focused on Instagram or LinkedIn, essentially. But rather than, you can sort of drive your audience from your main Facebook. Yeah, that's really all I've got, guys. If there's any questions, I'm really happy to sort of answer those as we go. I did sort of ramble through that pretty quickly, but I'm happy to sort of expand on anything. I will say, like, it's very valuable getting a social media manager platform. It just sort of takes a lot of the grunt work out of this. I just saw that Alyssa. There we go. We'll go to the first one. Instagram doesn't have these analytics available. So just recently, well, not recently, but Facebook and Instagram are owned by the same people now. So they are actually developing Instagram's analytics on the back end. So two ways to get your Instagram analytics at the moment are through Instagram, sorry. So you can log in and do that manually, but this is where a social media manager tool comes in very handy for Instagram at the moment, is that most of them will actually will basically just actively scan your Instagram on the fly, which is handy. So that will speed that up a lot. They are developing a little bit. Well, they have a web login, basically, that you can log into your Instagram and get essentially the same data out of your Facebook from the same place. Emma said, what are we using Facebook for? Brand awareness or for something else? So for the incubator, an example, it is mostly brand awareness and our events. So from this, I would also say, this is a really good example of where we nailed it again. It's just a comparison. We really struggled to fill participants for Rise. just because we were having such, and you do have to look at these things in hindsight a lot of the time to actually learn for the next event. We're really struggling to fill this event to get people to come because of a variety of reasons. And then as a comparison, Augmentation actually sold out before we even had publicly posted that tickets were on sale. So it's it's sort of, I think you have to take a little bit of everything when you're looking at analytics to sort of determine why things have happened. When giving a report to management of the board, what are the best parts to pull out and pick that data? So if I was just giving a top line report, I would just do the month to month, because it gives you a really quick snapshot. And I think it is interesting. I've looked at sort of event sales and revenues of businesses when you compare this to this, and you'll see it's usually a month behind a revenue. So say September was really good for us here. It's interesting to then compare that to your business revenue and say you'll actually probably see that October, November, you'll have a bumper month because people have been engaging, people are really interested in what you're doing, sort of thing. So this is a good one. If you're in a position where you have access to the financial data as well, which a lot of startups will, you can compare the two and you're just adding another tool to your toolkit. So yeah, basically the key ones, I think I said, are just these. There's some really good ones for there. FYI, is it possible to use these insights to nest against your accounting data? Yes, sorry, Rossen Baker has sort of answered that question there for me. So it is, you do see a really close correlation between what's happening in social media and your business, and being able to link the two is really important. On your good campaigns, how much time are you spending on them versus the campaigns you know extra after? That's a good one. It varies, and again, in a startup world, it's like this might not be the most important thing that you need to do at a time. If you're running your business, you probably need to. For me, I would set it up in a way that basically especially Facebook data goes back, I think it's 5 to 6 years at the moment. So I would it depends on the need of what you need to do, but I would spend, whether it's once a month just doing it quickly to have a quick snapshot, or whether you do it every 3 months just to have an overview, and then project and campaign related as well. I think it's always valuable to look backwards before you look forward, essentially, as well, just to gain a few insights. Time spending on the campaigns. Again, hindsight's always interesting. Is you do need to, like I said, I think you do need to spend time developing things and making changes, but it should get to a point where if you're doing it right, it becomes quite evolving, I guess, essentially the word. Do we ever do paid posts? Yes, we do at times. Facebook especially is really powerful. For better or for worse, it's an absolute beast. And I really recommend spending a bit of time looking. That's maybe something we can look at in the future, is paid advertising on social media. Essentially, is they have a phenomenal amount of data around people, which it's a really good idea to take advantage of. Just as a really top liner, I would probably avoid just boosting posts, as there's no strategy behind that. You're not actually gaining anything. Every now and then, if you're having a post that's doing really well, it is worth throwing a few dollars towards it. But think of it more as a strategy, and include it in your business. Say if you are releasing a new product, that should be part of your marketing plan as well. Like it's like I said, social media isn't everything. It's just an aspect of your business that you need to address. I think it's like 3.8 billion people use social media. So keep it in mind, and a bit of strategy. So find out your target audience, and you can target that audience on your social media. If you've got an ideal customer that you're trying to tap into, get their age demographic, where they live, their location, what their interests are, whether they like whatever. Essentially, all that data is available on Facebook to actually target your posts to them. And because Facebook is a business, the more money you spend, the more likely you are to show up in their feeds, essentially. But keep in mind, as an example I'll use really quickly, is a lesson we learned essentially is we were trying to fill our events. You do have the option to directly promote your events where you're saying, look, we'll spend $20 on this event and make sure it hits as many people as we can in our target audience. And we're finding we didn't actually get much return from that. People weren't that interested, and we had a better indirect return from actually promoting our page as a whole and building our audience from there. And indirectly, they would then see that we're having events from that way. So where are we at for questions? Do you think there is an ideal video time? Video, really quick. Can we have access? Yes. Yes, sorry. Video time for Facebook is basically within the first 10 seconds, less. I think it's 7 seconds. If you don't deliver a message in the first 7 seconds of your video, especially on Facebook, if you just think you're scrolling past, if you don't see something in 7 seconds, you're going to move on. The other really big one there is subtitles. If you think how many times you're actually watching a video on your phone with the sound on, there are resources that you can get videos subtitled really cheaply. I think it's like $1 a minute or something crazy. I really recommend that. But yeah, keep it short. Like a lot of our augmentation videos were quite long, but in the first 5 to 10 seconds, we'd at least captured them basically. So traditional videos always have a top and a tail, which is it's a fluffy intro and a fluffy outro. For social media, get rid of it. Like it's not needed. People don't have time to watch like your business logo fly across the screen, and they want to be engaged. And I personally don't enjoy that, but I think you have to talk to your audience a little bit there. What's my social media tool or trick, Dim? Thanks. I like to keep it personal, and it's really interesting when you have two people working across a social media platform for the same brand. Dimity is very social and very, I have to be careful of the words I use. She's got a lot more personality in the way that I would deliver social media. So I actually think it's a strength to actually have different people working on your social media brand. If possible, I realize that's not always a thing to have, but it's important to cater to reach as wide an audience as you can. A lot of people, the algorithm on Facebook especially is strong enough that it will figure out which posts need to be seen by certain people, which is very scary. But if you've got someone talking in a manner that's very light and friendly and welcoming, the people that want to see that will see that. Whereas if you've got posts coming out that are the sales or are the information that is important, people will see that as well. And the algorithm, scarily, will actually figure that out on the back end as to how that figures out. Where are we at to? Yes, you can have access to the recording. Social media management tool. What I would use, at the incubator, we just use Zoho, which is really cheap. I think, especially if you're on a bit of a budget, I think it's like $9 to $10 a month. Dim, it might be more than that. Sorry, I can't remember.
About $12.
12, yeah. So I would start cheap, depending. There's a variety of levels and what you get. Just from my experience, you don't really get a lot more the more you pay. That's just a personal preference. Like
you don't have to be really, really smart like Hugh to use social, because I figured it out. So he trained me a bit, but
I'm happy to, maybe I'll show that another time, but it's really straightforward, and it links into all your social media platforms. So you've just got a central hub where you can just log on and see what's happening. And it takes a lot of the grind work out of social media. You can schedule all your posts. You can see how all your posts are going from one central spot. So I do recommend that, which is Zoho. The other, oops, just send that to you, Dimity. Yeah. The other ones, Sprout and Hootsuite, are really good. But they are obviously a lot more. I think they're sort of the $30 to $40 a month sort of thing. Yeah, I think I've run out of questions, but thank you, everyone. That's all I've got.
Well, thank you so much, Hugh, for that extremely valuable, quick 30-minute session.
I had to fit a lot in 30 minutes.
No, you did. You did. And I think the questions at the end are probably reflecting on the fact that we all need a bit of help with advertising and why we can't boost posts, or boosting events might not be as good bang for your buck as highlighting your page. So I think that's definitely something I'll take away from that. And also I will try really hard to be informative and not light and fluffy. So I appreciate everyone dialing in. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Hugh, for such a great presentation.
Thanks for coming.
I think, everyone now, you'll probably receive an email in your inbox from